Welcome to Ten Face, my world building sub-channel. So I wanted to talk to you about the Dwarvish script. Now granted, the basis is a very simple basis to come up with. It's just 3 by 3 points, connect some number of them together, and then the rest are connected together. And a lot of people have the idea with tic-tac-toe, because you do an X and O. So if you fill out the board, so you have all 9 symbols, you'd have 5 X's and 4 O's, and then just connect them together. That's the basic idea. I've turned that into my Dwarvish script because that's what you do. Here is actually what all the symbols are based on the original elements. If you watch my previous video about Diorna, and if I edit it correctly, you'll know that the Dwarven god is very much about the very strict elements when he does magic. And so we have the elements and we have the stats of the world that were formed as the 16 deity apprentices. These are the basic names of those 16, which came down to Common Dwarven by just using the first letter. It does not have the letters C, Y, or Z. Those letters do not exist because the 5-point and 4-point glyphs, so like this left-hand side, there's only about 23 of those. So these are the elements: the holy, air, bolt, fire, dark, earth, and water. Those are your core elements, elemental magic, and all that kind of stuff. The 8 stats are quickness, luck, precision, magic, guard, vanish, strength, resist. Magic and strength, you probably know that from any game that you've played. Resist is the magic defense, guard is the strength defense, vanish is the defense against precision. So if somebody's super precise, they'll hit you all the time, but if they're just moderately precise and you have a very high vanish stat, you can get out of the way, as it were. Luck, again, is kind of the more aggressive version, with quickness being the way to get around luck. Every element and stat has a leveled up version. So this is basically your level 2 elements, and I would write them using the mathematical bold, because I'm a mathematician, I love that. And you can see that's very closely related. And then in the center here, we have something very interesting. We have an element and a stat paired up. Now, part of the reason for this is there are only 8 ways to have 6 points and 2 points in a 3 by 3 grid. You can kind of see the evolution here. This adds this upper point here, and then loses that point down there from that one to become that, and then holy comes across that way. So this glyph is actually holy and quickness combined. And so I would just write, for example, this one as HQ. Next, we have kind of the 4 life force. So Xylon and Namala, X and N, those represent plant type things and animal type things. Again, we're using kind of life from Earth to kind of define this planet because the primary people who will be witnessing the world is from this planet. So that's Xylon and Namala. Next, we have Jul and Undith. Undith is the body, the physical body, and Jul is kind of the soul. So in this world, there's kind of the soul force, your personality, all the things a lot of religions consider to be part of your soul. And then Undith is kind of the physical body. Now another way to look at that, Undith is also kind of the force that keeps animated skeletons alive, because they don't really have a soul anymore, they're just kind of the walking body. Then we get to fundamental forces, and these are fun. Orbi, Kin, and Tella. And so they do have a powered up version, and their powered up version is the 8-1 glyphs, of which there are only these 3. Tella is the repellent force. Like charges in electromagnetism will repel, that's guided by Tella. Kin is the attractive force, so either opposite charges in electromagnetism or gravity is all kind of pulled in by Kin. And you can see it looks like it's hugging the little dots. Finally, Orbi is kind of the perpendicular force. So you get that if you study physics with electromagnetism, and how if you have an electrical current, there's a circular perpendicular magnetic force. It gets crazy. This is a thing that exists in the real world, so it can exist in my fantasy world, yeah. So that is all the letters based on the element stats, life forces, and fundamental forces of the planet Diorna in the Dwarvish script. Ignore the halfling at the top. So, as you can see, with the Dwarvish script being in this kind of very simple 3x3 grid, there's only 4 sub-squares. You can have a full square like this, 2 parallel lines like the bottom line, the top left of E, or an X, like the top right of it, or you can have this triangle in one of the 4 orientations. And that makes it easy for ancient Dwarvish, because you would only need 4 tools. And if you have those 4 tools, you can pound out any of the Dwarvish script. These Dwarvish runes, these are arranged in a very specific order. Holy, air, bolt, fire, dark, earth, water, and ice. Strength, precision, magic, quickness, resistance, vanish, guard, and luck. What this symbol is, if you take out the letters and just have points, that is a hypercube. It is a tesseract. Interestingly, and I've mentioned this in the previous video, from dwarves we ended up with gnomes, which are hypermagical because of their sprite parents. They use the Dwarvish script, and they're a new race, so they don't have to worry about what ancient civilizations did. They can just use modern magic to kind of make things work. Their script is using the 5 and 4s of Dwarvish script. So any of the basic letters is to take 3 of these and stack them on top of each other. Attach the 5 points on the bottom to the 4 points in the middle to the 4 points on the top, arranged in a way that wherever the 5 points on the bottom were, those attach to 4 points on the right, 4 points on the left, 4 points on the front, 4 points on the back, and then 5 points on the 2 middle perpendicular planes. And these create 3D objects, of which there are something like 30 different little subcubes. Super complicated. So to give an example of what this looks like, we have this. You can see the original Dwarvish here. That's the bottom glyph, the second glyph, and the top glyph. You can see what it looks like if you read from left to right, and what it looks like if you read from front to back. All of these are the little subcubes, because there's going to be 8 of those. And so that's the letter D, K, B. Here's 2 more examples. So that's 1 syllable. And they don't have to worry about, like, well, how did this language develop? Dwarven being carved on stone, these glyphs totally make sense. Gnomes do not need to worry about how the script originated, because they have Dwarvish, and so they've taken it more complicated, used magic to basically make 3D versions of this, or smithing to build this up. You can imagine all of these are 3D printable. However, as I mentioned, these are the syllables. How do you create a word? You create a word by combining the syllables together in a tesseract or a hypercube. Yes. So there's a lot of little subcubes inside the hypercube. And especially since it's 3x3x3x3, you get a few more cubes going from the middles. It gets kind of weird, but basically you can think of it as 8 cubes. And you can look at my channel 3, I believe, 3-face, to get an idea of how to imagine a hypercube. But yes, so that's their words, and I'm debating whether to have sentences formed via hypertesseract. So those are what I'm currently working on. Thank you for watching. And bonus, if you want to see me trying to paint this globe, make this globe work, or use chalk markers to make this globe pop, because I had it in like regular chalk, you couldn't see it. And you are a patron member, you can get a short little video with some background music, no talking, of me just working on this. So,